99 hustles, hustles. 99 hustles, hustles. Welcome to the 99 Hustles podcast. I'm your host, Nick Carter.
And I'm your co-host, International Fees.
And today we're joined by another hustler, Allegra Harris. She's actually on her hustle right now in Vegas working, and schedule some time to chat with us here today. Allegra, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
First and foremost, Allegra is a fitness instructor, a virtual fitness instructor who also has a large social following. And before we get into that, Allegra, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in the business?
Originally, I was in New York City and I was a group fitness instructor, and then COVID happened. I was also a personal trainer. So I asked all my clients, I'm like, do you guys want to just FaceTime? And they were like, I guess. And as we started to move through that, it became really efficient and effective to just virtually personal train my clients. And then I started to build that out and add in, I have an app now where I create people workout plans and meal plans. And it's crazy. I have some clients where they're like, I'm not going to stop virtual training. Like, I'm going to keep doing this because It's just so, yeah. Like, I have one guy, and it's crazy because they can be in different states, different time zones. And he's like, this is great because he just jumps right into a meeting, like while he's still panting out of breath from his ab workout.
You made it. So you'd be a perfect case of someone who, took the pandemic and made something out of it. So would you say this has been a much more fruitful endeavor than your normal, like, instructing in New York?
It's actually crazy how much more efficient I am now. I think I was working harder, not smarter. That's the term, right? Like, now I'm working smarter, not harder. And I can get so many more clients in, so much more work done. In New York, I was just schlepping on the subway. I was wasting time getting to people and getting home. Yeah. So this has been definitely a blessing for me.
Wow. It's incredible. Like Fee said, like we especially, like, as of late, we've been hearing so many stories of people who took, like, the bad of the pandemic and COVID, and they actually transformed it into something beautiful and something, like, lucrative and that can last, long after COVID is over. So I definitely commend you on creating something in COVID. Now, would you say prior to the pandemic, prior to being a fitness trainer, what is your experience as an entrepreneur and as a businesswoman? Like, is this being a businesswoman, is that something you always wanted to do, or you kind of like?
It's funny. I kind of grew up watching my mom as an entrepreneur and my sister, and I just knew it was in my blood. Like, I tried to work for a lot of people and do a lot of things, and I ended up quitting and just being like, I'm going to do my own thing. And I don't know, that was really scary to do in New York City with just such expensive rent. But I was like constantly trying things. In college, I started an activewear brand. So that was my first kind of run at it, which I recently kind of just took a break from because now the fitness stuff has kind of taken over. But so I guess since I was in college, I kind of just been doing my own thing.
Now, did you always have aspirations to do fitness instruction, or is that something you kind of just fell into, just being passionate about working out?
I thought I was going to college for art. And then in school, I was at the Fashion Institute. I was there for entrepreneurial studies. So it was a business degree. Yeah. And then I walked into my first group fitness class in New York City. And if anyone's ever been, like, New York City takes their group fitness very seriously.
Right. It's a lifestyle.
It's insane. I fell in love. And then I don't know how old I was now. This is a while ago. My ex was like studying to get a certification, and I'm like, I'm going to do that too. And then I passed, and I was like obsessed with what I was studying. And then I worked into the fitness space. Like, it kind of just happened.
So would you say, like, you mentioned that, I mean, we're not from New York, but I've taken a couple different, like, group fitness classes. And if it's anything like the ones I've taken, it's almost like a social group where, like, you're hanging out outside of the class, like you're doing things, like you almost become friends outside of working out. Were you able to take that and incorporate that into, like, your business model and how you interact with your clients?
Yes, I got clients from being a group fitness instructor. I actually, though, what I took from it is I'm actually not a good, I personally don't think I'm a good group fitness instructor. Like my specialty is one-on-ones. Like, love taking the individual, learning all about their unique schedule, preferences, lifestyle, and making them a plan. Group fitness, like my brain was just, I'm running around the class like, no, I need to help her, but I want to talk to him, but I want to do that. And I'm like, some people are amazing at it and I loved it, but I'm like, it taught me what I'm better at.
Mm-hmm. Can you talk about a little bit about like the learning curve, if there was one for like, I know you mentioned you also are doing meal planning for people.
Mm-hmm.
So I imagine there's like a lot of research that had to go into that, like about nutrition and, finding the right combination for your clients.
Yeah. So because I'm not, I didn't go to college to be a registered dietitian, which you need, I believe it's a master's degree in. I
wasn't sure if it was nutritionist.
So they're certified nutritionist, registered dietitian. Trust me, on TikTok.
I didn't want to sound stupid.
They come for me on TikTok. They're like, you didn't go to college for it. And I'm like, I know.
Show me your degree.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I have to say, I am not that. So I give, I'm not prescribing anything. It's a suggested meal plan. But what I do is calculate my clients' personal macronutrients, which then allows me to create a nice little balanced out plan for them that suggests them a few different options per breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And learning that has just come from reading books, studying, being in the industry. Yeah, pretty much. Like I wish I kind of went to school for all that, really? But I didn't know back then,
Sure. Now, you kind of mentioned how you got your start into the industry and how you were able to kind of transition to the online space. Were there other people that you saw doing it that you kind of reached out to, or did you kind of do all this like on the fly on your own, like kind of just doing it up?
The FaceTiming was really on the fly. It was like, I wasn't in New York anymore. And so it was like, hey, want FaceTime? And they were like, yeah. And I'm like, I'll cut the price. Like it was just so random. It was like when no one was working and you didn't know what to do. And then I didn't see anyone else doing that. What I did see was everyone started teaching classes through Zoom. I tried that. It was not good. Like for me, I don't teach. I did corporate classes. I actually did everything during the pandemic and like a lot of it failed. And that's where I found that I'm the best, just my one-on-one. I don't have to if I'm in a bad mood, like I'm the kind of person where you'll know my emotions. So if I have to teach a group fitness class and I'm not in a good mood, it's not going to go well. I'm just not going to be like that. I don't know. I love the people that are like, I respect them so much when they can walk in the room and be amazing. So yeah, I would say everyone was teaching classes, but I hadn't seen a lot of the one-on-ones, but those one-on-ones are still happening now. A lot of my friends that are trainers are like, I do that. Yeah.
So one thing we've seen out there is like the rise of like social influencers, and, there's more and more, gym instructors that are trying to get into this space. What would you say are things that were maybe like misconceptions you had going into it? I mean, I get that you went into it during the pandemic, so there wasn't really a blueprint, but what would you say to a trainer who's maybe listening to this and that's like, you know what, I have a little bit of a following. Like, how do I, take this to the next step and able to make this a full-time endeavor?
You have to be unique about it because everyone is trying to do it. You have your people in the fitness space trying to do it. And then you have like a level of celebrity that's putting out workouts as well. So you have to be unique and you have to sell what you are good at. So I was like, I felt like trying to be someone else by teaching classes. And then finally I came in and was like, hey, this is how I work my own body out. If you like it, I'm going to show you it. And that's what finally grew me. So my advice would be what they specialize in. So if they have a background in running, they should just start teaching people workouts to perfect to make their running better. Yeah. Stuff like that. Just find a niche.
Mm-hmm.
That's a word we go back and forth on.
Yeah, for sure. And it makes sense. It's interesting though, right? Because it kind of reminds me of like how it is with like the drop shipping and e-commerce people. They always talk about finding your right niche. They always say like, well, some people do like general all-purpose stores, and some people like really like that's how you get an edge on the competition. It's a real thing. So Fees mentioned the influencer marketing. Now that's like another side of the coin to the Allegra Paris brand. So like, could you talk a little bit about, Allegra as the influencer and, what that means and just your experience in that space?
It definitely changed as soon as COVID hit. Before it was kind of, I think I wasn't as good at it. I wasn't as personalized. I think in New York, it was like, go to this event and post about it, get this product and show it. Now with COVID, it was like, I got to sit back and be like, what do I want to actually genuinely, what do I believe in that I want to show? Because people can see when you're faking and you're not authentic. They know. So I thought about it and I'm like, okay, I'm only going to show what I know how to do. And so I got on TikTok and I started posting videos. And instead of saying me, because when I'm with my clients, it's them, I got on TikTok and I'm like, you need to do this, you need to do that. And I got ripped apart. I mean, these people were coming for me left and right. They were like, don't you tell us what to do. You're not a registered, whatever. Yeah. So then I flipped it and I went on social media with hey, this is what I do. You can't yell at me. I like to do this if you want to do it too. And that's how it just skyrocketed, especially on TikTok. It's like when you're authentic and you just show what you can do. So now I kind of just align myself with brands that I actually would want to associate with, and people can just see that. That makes sense.
So TikTok's like a fairly, of all the social media platforms, it's one of the newer ones. How have you been able to, now did you use it for personal gain or did you know this is going to be strictly about marketing?
I hated it for so long. And my sister every day was like, you are just wasting your time. Why are you not posting and creating content? And I'm like, I hate it. And then finally,
we're doing the dances.
Oh, see, that's my problem. I can't dance. And I was just jealous of the little girls who could dance and I can't do it. And I was pissed. And then finally I got on there and I'm like, you guys want to learn how to squat? But so no, I don't think it's that personal. Now it's for marketing. But everything I'm posting is real and authentic. We just did on the plane on the way here. I did a review of all the snacks you get from JetBlue. And I was like, hey guys, if you're going to pick one of these snacks, this is the one and that's why. And this is why. Just really
interesting.
Everything.
Yeah.
Content pieces. That's dope.
Yeah. But things that I live by. So they can't what is she even saying?
It's your own life experience that you're bringing people into your world. Right.
Yeah.
So you mentioned brands though. So how is it, negotiating and conversing and dealing with brands? Did you struggle with that at all early on? You finding a groove?
Yeah. In the very beginning, in the very beginning, when you're just starting, nobody wants to work with you. So it's kind of just you're sad all the time and everyone denies you. Then you start to grow, you get a collaboration here and there. Maybe it's free. So they just give you something and you post an exchange. Then you can work through being paid, monetizing it. I've never really worked with somebody on my behalf to kind of negotiate for me. But I started to kind of just create my own rates. But again, pre-COVID, companies had a way higher budget. So they could just send you, in New York City, we would do events where Nike would just give us gear. We were getting shoes. Oh my gosh, it was insane. And then COVID hit and they were like, wait, we don't have everyone was cutting budgets, firing people. All the connects I had at all the brands were gone. Mm-hmm. And then slowly it kind of creeped back up because then there was the rise of, all right, now we're all sitting at home. And a lot of people did lose their jobs, but a lot of people didn't. And now they're making money just sitting there wanting to online shop. So then became the rise again where they were sending product. But I usually have the most success when the brand reaches out to me first. Yeah. If I reach out to them, a lot of the time they just want to do free product. If they reach out to me, they'll sometimes do a paid collaboration where either it's month to month or it's a one-off. But I only accept it if it's a brand I actually want to wear, swimsuits I want to wear, or with protein powder, it has to be really clean ingredients. I won't just promote junk because my clients are definitely the kind of people that they have the money to want to buy something nice and invest in themselves. And if they see me being inauthentic with what I'm promoting, I'd lose them as clients.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
Authenticity, man.
Right. Kind of goes back to your original point on that, how you started off trying different things, whether that was the group fitness stuff, realized that wasn't for you, whether that was going on TikTok and saying, don't do this or, go do this. And you're like, well, if I just market myself, that's, there's a lane for that. So, now that we're, not that we're over COVID, but we kind of see that there's
Light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, like there's some hope here that pretty soon things are going to really open up across the country. Where do you see yourself going? Where do you see your brand going in the post-COVID era?
I had thought about returning to in-person training because what I could do is double the price, but it's 1 hour of training and it's going to be another hour of commuting. So really it's 2 hours with a higher price point or 2 separate clients in my pajamas in my apartment. I'm like, I could definitely return back, but
yeah,
I haven't seen a decrease in what I'm doing. If anything, now with TikTok, I had to bring on like a virtual assistant just to help me bring the leads through. So I'm like, this is a dream. I'd rather just work so hard at my online coaching and then that be what I do. And then the in-person stuff has just been modeling again. So I'm able to go places and travel to model, which has seriously been my dream. Yeah, maybe teach a class here and there, like in Florida and Miami. Maybe I should have a better idea by now, but I haven't had to really think about it yet.
Yeah. What I do want to communicate to the audience, what I've gotten from your story, Allegra, what I really like about your story is in this world of influencers and influence in marketing, a lot of people think of that world as like being so fake, or fabricated. And like, what's really dope about your story is you just keep bringing it back to authenticity. Like, I only, promote products that I personally like. I'm telling you, you were on a plane and you're showing people like what you're eating, like, that authenticity of any brand, for anybody out there building a brand, any brand, that authenticity and that truth is so important. And I think that's so dope that you're sticking to your truth in, a world like influencer marketing where, a lot of people say like it can be fake or fabricated and things like that.
Well, it took me a while to get here. This is like a maturity in this, because when I first started, it was all about wanting the title of being an influencer.
Yeah.
And it was the fakest thing in the world. I was like editing my photo, like it was so bad. I mean, so I had to grow to get here. But that's how I have the most success, is because I'm like, okay, why don't I just care a little bit less? My sister always tells me I'm a Virgo, so I'm very like everything has to be detailed. And it's like, as you pull away and you're just like real about something, I'm like, how are the people now watching my stuff and commenting? Like, I'm putting in almost like less work in like the right way. Yeah. It's interesting.
That's so real. I mean, there's so much to take away from that. Like, the pivot's also critical, right? Pivot during like times of like craziness in the world. Some people run and hide, some people look for opportunities, and build an opportunity within your truth. What would you say if you had to pick between being an influencer or giving fitness and meal planning, prep for your clients? Which one would you choose?
Oh, definitely working with my clients, because at the end of the day, I feel like I'm actually helping someone. It's like true. It's very intimate with my clients. We have the 24/7 communication, and when they write to me like, hey, like I fit in this swimsuit for the first, like I'm wearing a 2-piece for the first time in 2 years, and they're like so happy, and I'm like that's why I actually quit the clothing brand, because I'm like, this is so much more rewarding. I actually want to sit here and help people. Like, what else is the point of what you do if you're not like making people feel good or helping them in some way? I don't know.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. Now, you mentioned in your last answer there was some like 24/7 communication. Now, is this just like you're texting with your clients, or is there a platform that you created or you use, or how does that work?
Yep. So I have an app through an online coaching platform. It's called Allegra Paris Fit. And then once my clients sign on, they have access to their meal plans, workout plans, progress tracking, and then we have 24/7 messaging through the app. But I definitely bring a lot of people on through WhatsApp if they want to send photos of food labels, because I just know like with this stuff, it is kind of 24/7, or you could fall off and binge and just, wreck it. Like that's how this stuff can be.
Yeah.
So I like to at least be there for them to answer any questions I can.
Yeah. I didn't want to, go back. You mentioned about being modeling also.
Yeah.
You mentioned that was your dream as well. Could you talk a little bit about how you, got into the model game also?
So that was like when I first moved to New York and I was 17, it was every girl's dream. I think when you move there, it's like, I want to be this, I want to be that. And I'm not tall enough to be that typical New York model. All the agencies denied me and like told me, you know, you're just not going to make it and this and that. And I think that's where I like engineered it. Like I used becoming, you know, being an influencer to kind of, and just kept doing shoots and just like made it happen for myself, because I'm like, if they're not going to let me. And then as you move through the modeling world these days, now they ask you how many followers you have, even if it's a legitimate giant brand. So now I do all my stuff. I have an agency who's awesome, but I also do a lot of my stuff on my own. Like I'll shoot for Skechers at the end of the month. And like, that's the dream for me, being able to kind of book it myself, do that. And then I'll show that on TikTok too, like little behind the scenes of it all.
Wow. Yeah. That's incredible. That's incredible. You built the door. They closed the door. Oh and built your own door. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah. You forced your way into a,
literally did force my way in.
Which is an important thing for people to remember. It's like, you know, while it may not be in the fitness world, like whatever industry you're trying to get into, there's always a way to crack into it, even if you kind of have to force a lane.
Literally.
So at this point, have you had other trainers reach out to you or just kind of, you know, pick your brain on trying to how to, you know, maybe mimic or kind of follow your progress and your stuff?
I'm friends with a lot of them from New York still. Just a lot of my friends do kind of what I do or in a different version. But no, because I don't always show the online coaching stuff like on my Instagram. I guess I do. I show my virtual clients, but I'm not showing like the behind the scenes enough for people to be like, oh my gosh, you're having so much success. Like they don't really know, I guess. But we're all in the same boat. Like I was with one of my guy friends. He's a trainer and we're sitting at the airport and he's got like 3 people on his phone. And he's like, all right, burpees in 5, 4. So I think we are all kind of doing it. But for us trainers, it's like, this is like a dream to be able to not be physically dead every day, flying to teach a class, train. It's like, this is a dream kind of.
So do you see an opportunity for either someone like yourself or another trainer out there to kind of help curate that blueprint for other trainers to kind of follow, right? Because it almost seems like you're all doing it on your own and kind of fit, but I haven't seen it yet. And maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but there really isn't anyone out there to be like, hey, sign up for my course. I can teach you how to create your own.
Be a virtual fitness trainer. Yeah.
Virtual fitness training program.
Oh, because it's so new.
It's a good idea, Fees.
It is a good idea. You better get on that.
Right.
Can we make an edit point and cut that out real quick? Cut the Allegro offline. I mean,
that's huge.
99 hustles. I mean, it kind of writes itself. Right?
Amazing. Yep.
Allegra, your point about the dream, also like you being, you know, the model industry, fitness and influence, and well, model in particular, you mentioned was a dream for you.
Yeah.
Sometimes with that though, right, it's like when you finally arrive, you find out like something's not all it was cracked up to be, or like something that was like an aha moment, like, yo, this is different from how I thought it was going to be. Do you have anything like that? Any experiences like that?
I think 2 parts of it. One part is me is like, oh, well, look at her. There's a lot of that whole like, well, look at that model. She's doing more than me. I want to get to that level. Or I want to be on that cover. I have like a lot of that, which I should sit back really and just be so thankful for what I am doing so far. But, you know, that's normal to kind of like whatever. And the second thing is it's all like so insane working for these big brands. But the like entrepreneur crazy person in me is always like, I want to control the shoot. Like when I'm the model, like no one tells me what's going on. And I'm in the corner like, okay, well, what are we doing now? What are we doing now?
Yeah.
I'm almost like, it's kind of funny once you're actually on set doing it. It's very different than like the outcome of
just seeing the picture.
Yeah. You know, you're like on the cover of you're like in a store on the wall and you look awesome. But like the behind the scenes is just like you like.
Yeah. So now one thing we always like to do on the show is kind of, you know, talk about some of the struggle that comes along with it, right? Because like entrepreneurial, like entrepreneurial is always a great term to use, and it always looks like it's just like this perfect like lifestyle work. Can you talk a little bit about like, you know, what's the other side of it that people don't see that really, you know, allows you to be as successful as you are?
People see that we don't have like a boss, so we can do whatever we want. But like the worst side of that is, and you're always working. It's a Saturday, and you're like, well, I should just work a little bit, or you don't really have as much of a, you have to learn how to turn it off. So I would say there's that. The other struggle was always, for me at least, before I built out this kind of like subscription program with my clients, it was like I had no security. Like I'd be so happy that I booked a job or got a client, but they could cancel or leave, or I couldn't get another one right out. Like I lived in such fear, especially in New York City, just like nothing was consistent. So it was horrifying. I never felt like I could relax or have fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then now I'm like having definitely a lot more clients coming in from TikTok, which is insanely amazing and giving me security. But now the next thing is like, ooh, I'm working a lot now. So now, which is awesome, but I'll work through the weekends now. And I'm like, oh, should I now figure out a little balance again? But like, so it's always figuring out balance, discipline, and not feeling like stressed the whole time. You are just finding security.
So kind of having to realign how you, I mean, we're all programmed to think Monday through Friday you work, Saturday, Sunday you're off.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be that way.
As someone that runs their own business, there really isn't a work week. Every day is kind of similar. So it's kind of like, okay, maybe today I don't have as much to do. That could be a Wednesday. But
and that gives you anxiety. You're like, wait.
Yeah. So with that, do you ever get like the, what's it called? Like imposter syndrome sometimes, where you're like, man, I'm getting really big. Like, why me? Like, how do I explain my success?
It's a lot of up and down for me. Like some days it's like, is this going really great? Or is this oh, this is going so great. Wait, why me? Yeah. And then I'm like, wait, do I know enough? Should I be reading more books? Like I have like 6 books I just ordered to read. Like, I think every day is a different mood, really. But yeah, it's a mix of all of it. I remember I used to be like, I wish I just wanted to have a 9-to-5. Like I used to actually be jealous of those people because I'm like, I was so insecure some days.
Yeah.
Literally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's important that, you know, people talk about that, right? Because we started this podcast to kind of show people there's other ways to be successful and find financial freedom. But with that also comes along with other different kind of stresses that you don't experience now as a normal 9-to-5 worker.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, at this point, would you consider yourself happy?
Oh yeah, I wouldn't have believed if you were to tell me a year ago that I'd be here.
Wow.
With work success or any kind, I wouldn't have believed it.
Mm-hmm.
COVID for me helped me to fail like 10 times without losing my New York City apartment. Cause like it was COVID, everything was on pause.
True. Yeah.
I failed at like 10 things. And I think that if there wasn't COVID or there wasn't that time that forced me to just sit for 10 months, I would have been failing through things for another 5 years. It like sped it up.
Yeah.
The incubation process was so much quicker because it's like, I can't go out anyways, so might as well, use this time
to work more.
To grow. Yeah.
Well, yeah, to grow as opposed to fail. Yeah, it's all, you have to figure out what you're good at.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Allegra, you're in Vegas right now, actually, as we're recording the episode. Are you able to talk about what you're currently working on?
So I'm here with my sister. She's doing an amazing interview today. And I'm like, I'm going to come because that's the part about my job now is I can train clients here.
Freedom.
And then I do have a little video shoot I'm going to do later just to get some video content. I don't know, maybe like working out on the strip or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just have the freedom now to move around more.
So now, now you can, expense this trip because you're working right now. This is not for fun.
It's a write-off. Yeah.
Yep.
It's important. I guess it's important for our listeners and our audience to know that Allegra's sister actually is Alex, who we had on our podcast. She's a freelancer and freelance writer. We had on our podcast recently. So the hustle spirit is kind of like in the family.
Yeah.
That's like a really cool thing. Like that's like a brand in itself, right? Like 2 sisters, like making moves, making money, both bosses. Like
it's crazy because we never like looked at it like that. It was more like survival mode. Like we are just that we are this way. Mm-hmm. So it's like all we know. It's so funny.
That's another idea, Nick, that we're going to put under the 9 and Hustle brand. The Allegra and Alex show. The sister hustle.
That's like been us in this hotel room. I'm like throwing breakfast food at her, like yelling.
That's great. That's great.
With your virtual training, I also wanted to ask you, like, do you see like a mix of those two worlds at all? I guess what I'm thinking about is, do you have any clients for fitness that like we might know of, or like any like names?
I have to think. On the app right now, no. There's been people in the past. I probably can't like name them.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know if she's gonna sit here and
I was just curious.
A little bit, like definitely. What would be cool is I've been around enough people that maybe whether it's like big name models or I guess athletes, like I don't know if that's something I could brand myself as in the future. It's like that kind of trainer, but
how about brands? Are you able to mention any brands that you've worked with?
Well, so through the more like legitimate modeling I've done, I've gotten to work with Under Armour internationally. Like I just did Puma, which was sick. Like those things for me are like, when I was a little girl, it was the freaking dream. Skechers coming up, and then brands, just me and the brand, like Techno Gym. They make really cool gym equipment. We did some stuff over the pandemic. They had me film like series of at-home workouts. What else? What am I doing right now? Right now, I'm kind of changing it up, trying to work with some swimwear brands. So just kind of like random ones. I'm trying to think. With the pandemic, I took kind of a break from my bigger collaborations. Like I worked with Muscle Sport. It was that was a month to month. It was supplements and stuff. But with the pandemic, they're like, "Hey, we got to cut all influencer stuff." Like everyone said that to me, and I'm like, "Okay." The goal this year would be to work with an activewear brand on like a sponsorship deal, like a big one for the year, where you're basically contracted to only wear their product in all your content and stuff, but it's usually like really well paying and really like cool. And that's kind of my next level. That's like what I'm looking for this year.
That's you just keep pushing it. You just keep pushing farther and farther. And yeah, it's truly dope. And you know, there's so many people out there who aspire to be influencers, kind of like similar to how you were as well. What type of advice would you give like someone who's like looking to become an influencer and work with brands themselves? What type of advice would you tell them?
I would say what I've been saying, like everything's been done. Everything. It's like 2021, we're screwed. Everything has been done. Only thing that is different about what you're going to do is you. Like you are the only thing that makes what you do unique. And like, I've had to come to that conclusion. I'm like, okay, like everyone, there's a lot of trainers out there. So you have to just sit with yourself for a minute and be like, what do I have to offer here? That's me. Authentic.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
People can see it when you're not authentic and they know that the other thing is too, it's like, everyone studies marketing now in college. Everyone takes a marketing class and an advertising class. So we kind of all know what everyone's trying to do with their messages now.
Right. And at the end of the day, it comes back down to like psychology. Like, do you understand people? Do you understand so you want to be an influencer, you got to understand what people that want to be influenced are looking for, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of figuring that out.
Yeah. Everybody thinks they understand analytics now. Like before.
Right. Yes. Yeah, even if they don't, they think they do. Yes.
Everyone is
right.
They understand impressions, and it's like, no, you don't. So, and with that, Allegra, so like, no one can do you better than you. That's a great hustler mantra, actually, because our audience knows. I know, right? Our audience knows we like to ask the hustlers that we have on, what is your hustler mantra? Hustle mantra is kind of like a quote or a phrase that you live your life by or run your business based upon. So I want to pose the question to you, though. If you had like to put, one quote or phrase, what would that be that defines Allegra Paris's hustle?
I would say you have to do what you are passionate about, what wakes you up in the morning with little jitters, and then the money, the fame, whatever you want to follow follows. But if you search for the money and the fame first with no passion behind it, it just won't work.
Word, yeah.
Like you have to like what you do, and then it ties into like being authentic and then showing. That's it.
That's a great point. And say, like the money and things like that will follow as long as you kind of have like a vision of what you're trying to do. So,
just people love to see it. they love to see that you're happy doing
Sure.
it. Maybe
So-
they'll hit on you a little, but they love it.
Of course, and we take all of the attention. So, with that, speaking of attention, where can people find you if they're looking for Allegra Paris, whether to follow on TikTok or to find to maybe become a client of yours? Where can they find you?
It's all the same. It's allegraparis.com. It's at Allegra Paris on Instagram. It's at do they do ats on TikTok? Allegra Paris on TikTok.
We're the last people to ask.
Yeah, right? I don't know. It's all Allegra Paris. Literally, that's everything. So allegraparis.com. They can sign up though to begin program, and then they can DM me whatever they want to do.
Got it. To Google Allegra Paris and you'll find you.
Yes. Yep.
Oh man, Allegra, you've been a great guest, and we really appreciate you taking the time to step away from the FaceTime workouts and take the time to chat with us. And with that, go ahead.
I was about to say, or Vegas. Like Vegas is like,
yeah, that was a humble flex.
We haven't gone out yet.
So much going on, the city, that never sleeps. And she's
we haven't even doing anything yet.
Yeah.
We gotta go out, Alex. We're going out.
All right, and that's a wrap for this week's episode. Thanks for listening to the 99 Hustle podcast. Please be sure to hustle. Please be sure to visit 99hustle.com to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover our amazing bonus content. Please rate, review, and subscribe if you enjoyed this episode. Always remember, there are 99 hustles. All you got to do is choose one.
99 hustles.
Nice.